sit down.
Good day, everyone. Welcome into the stream. Today is a wonderful, wonderful day. Right after I'm done streaming, I am actually heading out to the Arizona Gift Camp all weekend long. Going to be coding away, helping some nonprofits, helping some teams. As an organizer, hopefully I'll get to actually code some stuff this year. Some years I get to code stuff. Some years I get to help other teams solve problems that they get stuck on so that we can progress through the stuff. And we're literally going to start coding tonight probably about 7 p.m. Get a little meet and greet going, get a little dinner, form some teams, start some coding, and we're going to continue coding all the way until the middle of the afternoon on Sunday. And then we will do a wrap up. We'll do some demos, show off all the stuff that got built. Depending on the internet at the facility, I'm going to try to actually stream the final wrap up so you can see all the stuff that got built. Even if I can't stream, I'll still at least record it and I can post it later on YouTube. But enough about Gift Camp for today. We're going to continue what we started on Monday. We're going to finish off some Cypress tests. We had left off with a whole slew of Cypress tests that were working, but not all the functionality right now has tested around it. So we'll play more with a bunch of Cypress tests. Get our delete button working. We'll enhance some of our tests. Like I know for the add test, I'm pretty sure we didn't make sure that the button was disabled. What if it didn't pass validation? So we want to make sure that those kinds of things are actually in there. So hopefully we can get all that stuff working. We'll figure out how do we actually wire up to the Windows alert as well. Awesome. So let's swap over and let's take a look at where we actually left off last time. So we had this Angular tutorial code, but this code came from the Angular workshop that I run as the output of what you end up at the end of the day. If we pull up a browser here, take a look at what does this actually look like. So we got all the standard stuff that you would expect in an app. We've got login here. So get logged in, and actually let's log in with foo2. Not make the same mistake we made on Monday and kept logging in with the same account that we were using for testing. Then it kept making our test fail on Monday. You got to-do items, you can complete them and toggle that. This number up here also changes. And as I uncheck it and put an item back in, goes up to 1. Throw in another item, goes to 2, decrements down. If I click the trash can to delete, pops up a Windows alert. So we'll be testing the Windows alert definitely today. Got a little bit of validation going too. 3 characters, fields required. You can create new accounts. Got a 404 page in here. You can log out. So that's the app that we had. Let's take a look at our actual unit test, or not our unit test, our UI test. It's in here. So if you remember, the thing that we are playing with is Cypress. So to run that is npx Cypress open. So we'll go ahead and run that UI. The other thing that's going on in the background is we have our ng-serve up and running. This is required to be running in order for Cypress to connect to the website. We'll give it just a moment and Cypress will pop up its little UI here. Let's get this on screen for you. So we've got 3 sets of tests that we've broken out. We created the account, menu, and to-do items. And let's actually run these. It'll spin these up. Hopefully all of the tests haven't broken, and they all still work. I didn't make any changes after Monday's stream, so everything should still be in the same state, but you never know. You see it running through all the test cases. Some of these contact the actual API. some of them don't contact the API. The API behind this is just a sales demo application that I wrote when I was doing sales talks in Sales.js. This is what it actually is. It's a node-based framework that sits on top of Express, lets you do all kinds of REST operators, typical CRUD kind of stuff. So, since I had both Angular and Sales Talks, I built the API to go along with this little application. So all of our test cases you can see passed in here. So let's go ahead and first test I'm going to look at is, let's make sure when we do our validation that this add button is actually disabled. So if you remember, we have our playground here for the selector. So it looks like .btn. Hopefully none of these other ones are, and they are not. So let's go find that test. So under Cypress integration, to do item. And now it's a matter of finding the test. I'm going to collapse down our before because we don't need to do anything with it right now. We did add to do, so it's in the add area. It's adding, here's all of our validation. Okay. So we made sure that the alert should be visible or not visible when it passes and visible when it is. Let's also add in here. I could just chain this on, but let's not continue to chain on since it is something different. Let's say .should. I wonder if there's a B disabled. There is. It is really nice that the Cypress selectors in all of these should statements feel very intuitive. And this one not be disabled. And we shall copy this one down to our required as well. And it should be disabled at this point because it failed validation. Failed validation as well. And passes validation. We're in our formatter. Click save and back off to our test we go. Well, that was unexpected. We'll wait for all our tests to fail and see what exactly failed with that. Okay, so at least the things that we changed passed, but let's see what failed here. So it looks like log into to sign up navigation. Time.retrying. It looks like something was covering the element for whatever reason. That could have been these because we were playing with the selector playground. Let's just rerun it just to verify. Yep, and it already passed. So what ended up happening, because we had the selector playground up, that had covered over the UI, and so Cypress couldn't interact with the elements that were actually covered. Perfect. So one item down, and let's actually add those pieces in there. We will discard that hunk. Look, here's some for all of my Git stuff. Again, I love to use Git Kraken. Just a nice Git editor. And here's where I can stage different portions of it. I saw that I made changes to different parts of the file. I said these might be separate. If I wanted to check them in, I could stage each one individually. I can just stage the whole thing. Since they're all related to each other, we'll just stage the whole thing. And we added to do add button. Let's see, test add button. Disabled, enabled, validation. Perfect. One item down. So now let's take a look at our deleted pieces. So we've Watch down min length. Let's take a look at our ad here. Actually, here's the completed one. That's what I really wanted. Because we are not using that. So part of the reason we don't need to do this first row any longer is right now we're only testing that we have one to-do item, so I don't need to worry about getting the rows. Let's think about this real quick though. I probably actually should. I should be doing this. This way it makes our test a little less brittle. By having it just say get this icon, it's going to get all of the icons. So if another test happened to add in another to-do item, all of a sudden this test case would magically break, and that's not what we're looking to have happen here. Let's put our dot only on this as well. We don't need to run the rest of the test cases. Got to make sure to stay hydrated too during the stream. So awesome. So that passed for us. So now if I add another to-do item in here, we are good to go that we're not going to end up having issues with having more than one to-do item. And let's add a scribe here, and we'll say to delete to-do. So again, the scribe is just a grouping for the test cases. I'll say it delete to do because that's the test case we're going to run right now. But we'll also put one in here for not confirmed. We're going to change this name too and say confirmed. Finish off this test. The reason for the 2 is that alert box, we want to test both states. I click the OK and I click the cancel button. Let's take a look real quick at our before item. I believe we're actually adding in a... Yep, so we're already adding in the to-do item. So I can snag this piece here. And let's do the not confirmed first, because that's the easiest thing for us to actually do here. Let's find our trash can icon. There we go. And the reason that this test is easiest to run is we don't have to mock out any of our calls to the APIs, and we don't have to make sure stuff's gone. We're just gonna make sure it's still there. So trash can, we're going to assume it is already visible, and we're going to say dot click. We want to click on the trash can. We're going to also say first row. You know, and I'm distinctly realizing that because the first row wasn't in there, that this line is probably not in the add to do item. Oh, it is, but we are not using it. So let's fix that as well. And actually that one is not in the first row. That is above the actual text box. So we'll find our dot only here and put it on our add case. Let's make sure it still runs. And it still does. Whew, voice is a little raspy this morning. Let's take that up and let's throw it onto this one. And now, the thing I don't know, and I found a couple articles right before the stream, is how the heck do we actually play around with the Windows confirm. So it looks like do some events and stuff in here. So actually just copy this down. I have no clue if this stuff will actually work or not. So we're going to find out. And looks like I need to pass a done into our function. And this note basically is make sure that you bind this CYN and on before you actually make the call. What we'll do, first time through, we're going to say, is it actually equal? I don't even know what the text says off the top of my head. Are you sure you want to delete? Are you sure you want to delete? Okay, it returns nothing. It automatically accepts. This one's going to reject it. Want to delete. That might be. What is this one complaining about? Expected a break. Ah, yes. Looks like that bit of code just falls straight through, and I don't know that that is the expectation. So we will pull up our OneNote here, and let's actually jot that down. This is a potential where I can actually contribute back to the Cypress stocks, or at least open an issue on their site for that. Try this again. Alrighty then. Let's manually size this. And I just realized that this is off screen as well. There we go. Stream, not Steam, stream notes. And today is the 8th. Now let's copy this URL in. Alright, let's add in let's do, or in the return true, sorry. Missing semicolon. Interesting. Let's go take a look back at this example, because TypeScript's throwing all kinds of stuff at us. On Windows alert expected. Alright. What do you not like here? it equals 0. There you go. One down. Window confirm. Actually, I want this to return false because this is our not statement, or our not confirmed. I'm not totally sure that let's start with that. Let's just see what it does. Make this something bogus, and let's just see if it still fails, or if it still passes. Okay. Wanted to at least validate that it truly was testing, it wasn't stubbing it out. So we're going to simplify this a little, because I could have done the whole test all at once, but honestly, I like smaller test cases. There's no reason to make a giant test case. At least for this piece. Say return true. Dot should exist. Well, let's see what that does. In the chat, feel free to chime in if you have any questions about Cypress and the stuff that we are doing. And it looks like our test crashed here. Wonder where the window went. It always tells you this restore pages, just ignore it. Wait for this to spin up. So we got the same error. Window confirm is not assignable to parameter of type test after run. Some of that, I believe, is actually related to TypeScript. But let's see what they have to say here. Hopefully, because they closed the issue, they solved it. Let's see, what did he change? Okay. It looks like they were just missing some stuff in their TypeScript definition files. How do I get this file? CLI types index. Ah, so it only had spy, didn't have the stub in there. Let's see if there's an update for. There's not. So this is part of their develop branch still. So, how do we work around this? I always hesitate to try to modify a file by itself, but it's part of a repo. See if I go find Cypress here. Make sure it isn't a Cypress repo. Yep. Make sure it wasn't in some other repo that got pulled in. CLI/types/index.ts. Line number 3855. 3855. Before I make this change, let's shut down Cypress. And yes, I know this is a terrible idea to go add these in, but we're going to do it for testing and then we can back it back out. And this one looks like white space formatting. Let's see if that fixes this. One thing I've definitely noticed about Cypress, and it's a little unfortunate, is they tell you can use TypeScript, but it doesn't feel as baked sometimes as the rest of their product. Their JavaScript feels rock solid. TypeScript doesn't feel as rock solid. Feels like there's still some issues with how stuff wires up and that they don't have with the JavaScript side of it. A lot of that's just around tooling. Alright, so we got a type expected error. Well, we made progress with a different error. It looked like action, window confirm, function string, false void. Looks like that's the only thing that changed. At least. Oh, and kitchen sink demo. Well, he updated. So I wonder if I can use cypress.on instead of scion.on. So let's try. Oh, we added that one and removed this one. Okay, so before, should have in theory reworked. Stubbing work, type Cypress should work with plain function or with a sign-on stub. I thought I had a plain function. I don't believe I am stubbing it out. Assignable to type. Oh, we may be stubbing it out instead. Here's how you stub it out. I was trying to avoid this as it's a little But comment this piece out. Okay, so now we're going to say dot click dot then export expect. There's a stub dot get call 0 dot 2 dot b dot called with so that's what ends up returning. First confirm, second confirm. Oh. Sub.on first call. Doesn't exist on a sign-on stub. So far, the code is not working for us. Let's do a Cypress TypeScript window.confirm. Confirm. Let's take, just looking through this real quick. Let's see what is in here. Well, hopefully this comment's no longer correct, that they automatically accept them. That wasn't what we were truly looking for. That as well. But stub actually has login with args. Not very useful. Place a function with usage. I'm very, very tempted to stop writing in TypeScript for these tests, even though I like all of the nuances that I get, all the type check-in, the IntelliSense. But the fact that I'm consistently having random issues isn't very fun. I should be able to copy this whole thing down here and get exactly what we... Like if I copy this whole test, I will comment out this one for now. Grab this, because that's the button we want to click. Notice it complains about all of these as well. Let's reload our test. I'm expecting all of these to fail because we had the issues already in VS Code. Yep, all these same errors that we are getting. Let's try something. Let's try pulling out our TypeScript pieces. Gotta remember where all of that stuff is set up. Here we go. So let's comment these lines out. We will rename all of these to .js. Shouldn't be any imports for those, but no need for a tsconfig file. Actually, we'll leave it in there just to make sure it doesn't break something. See if we get some of the same errors. No whammies, no whammies. Come on. Ah. I was not expecting it to error on that piece. Oh, it's erroring because, like a good TypeScript developer, I actually typed all of this stuff. So if I go through here and we get rid of all of those pieces, take a gander down here. Might be as easy as that. But let's just double check. See if that fixes it. I still have a void in there. There we go, it's at least running. Let's go back and let's take a look at the code that we were playing with. And let's get rid of this sample. Put it back in our real test. Let's do a little cleanup here. Bet you I can actually do this, which is way cleaner than the stub. And no whammies, no whammies. So how do we get it to not confirm? Take a look here. Return false. Oh, since I returned true, it did exactly what we wanted it to do. That's kind of funny. There we go. Literally, I can take these few lines of code. Do this. Let's return a true out of here. Should not dot exist. So let's also do a CY route. As delete. And we'll call it cy.wait. Alrighty then. Let's try that again. Delete. Now we just need to stub this out. Delete. Near URL. Actually, I don't know what the URL is. Let's pull this back up. Actually, before I pull up the F12 tools, dev tools, arcade, and let's grab this URL. Copy link address. And we'll say star, so it'll grab it. Anything off of there, what's the actual response? It's just okay. As much as I'd love to say that it's going to run that, it is not, because we had it only on the bottom to do. Describe.only. Duplicate declaration, because now we are in JavaScript writing all this stuff. Make sure we truly closed out our test. We did. Oh, and we had this. We did have that declared twice. Confirm, return true. We got the same thing down here. Nope. Expected object ID to not exist. This is an ordering. Because we're only deleting the to-do item. We will call. Well, let's take a look at this example one more time where they're calling it multiple times. Click button confirm firing. Counts. We're going to give this a try. Hide that for a moment. We only have two cases. We're going to return true here, because we don't want it to fall through. It's going to equal this value. Are you sure you want to delete? Yeah, these are backwards. We first want to reject it, and then we want to confirm it. Okay. I think we got that up. So let's look at, let's take this off of here. We change our test because we're going to delete. So that. Set up our computer, which we don't need to do yet. First row, click it. See, we'll call this icon. So this first row.get icon should exist. Actually, first row should exist. There we do icon dot click. Also, I put the equal sign in there. We want to wait on our delete response. And we'll confirm that it doesn't actually exist. And we can get rid of this test. I'll look for OK. See what we did here. Method patch slash to-do slash star slash to-do slash star methods delete as delete, and we're going to wait. So first time we call it, it will return false. Second time will return true. That should pass this one. It should exist. It should not exist. Well, we're going to find out. Click required a DOM element that we did not actually have. First things first, should be icon.click. One more time. What to do, wait on the add to do. This is not finding the icon for whatever reason. First row.get. It's just as easy as doing this. Okay, it did not like the weight. Okay, there's the add to do. Found the trash can, tested it, we clicked on it, and that should have been this click. Why did it not? Why did it get all the way down here and it didn't click it? Well, let's try. Put a count in here. Just see if it's even getting into our site on. Oh, didn't like count. Interesting. Count is not defined. Pretty sure it's right there. So test 1, test 2. Object HHR to not exist. Okay, let's just read through this. So we confirmed it a second time, clicked it. We had a stub for delete. I'm not quite sure. Let's just try the whole thing since there is no first. Rows first. Sorry about that. Went all the way down to the bottom there. So let's do do rows dot to rows should not exist. Right up first requires a DOM element. That would be right there. I have had this problem before where for whatever reason I tried to be fancy set things to variables and it didn't work for me. So we're going to go this route. I'm going to specify all of them. Good to go. Perfect. So now if we go in here and say view.html, actually, we want that to be our TypeScript for us. Looks like my switcher extension is not working. Let's see, what do we have installed? It's not installed. Angular switcher. Now if I pull up our to-do.html and I hit Alt-U, it goes over to the TypeScript file for me. And delete to. For sure you want to delete this item. Let's just change it around and we should see our test case actually break now. Perfect. This is exactly what we actually wanted to see. Is that it said, "Are you sure you want to delete this item?" Doesn't equal the text that we told it to specify. Let's go and change that back. It's always good when you're writing tests and you get one to pass, put in what you think the failure condition would be to not make it pass, and just double check that it truly is testing what you think it is testing. Just making sure this stream looks good here, and it still does. So now that we have our delete, and let's check that one in as well here. We also changed everything around to be the JavaScript instead of TypeScript. So let's actually clean that up a little bit before we do a check-in for that. So there's a few things that we are going to uninstall actually. So in our package JSON, we no longer need this TS loader. We no longer need the Cypress web preprocessor. So let's go ahead here and open up a new terminal. Actually, let's stop our stuff from running here. So npm uninstall, save dev ts.loader and @cypress/webpack-preprocessor. If there's anything else that we don't need, I believe those are the two that we no longer need. It is unfortunate that the TypeScript stuff's not working out, but we tried it. And as we got more advanced in some of our stuff, we were finding that it's not as well baked as the JavaScript. Their stuff is more of a bolt-on. So let's unbolt that bolt-on and move back into the JavaScript world. We'll get rid of the stuff. Let's go up here and actually delete some files. So, let's see, plugins. We no longer need this preprocessor because we're not doing anything with TypeScript anymore. So we'll get rid of all these lines. Save those pieces. Actually get rid of our screenshots folder just to clear up the tree a little bit. We also no longer need this tsconfig file at all in here. And we got our replay command. Command is already set up for JavaScript. Commands should be good as well. We also no longer need this declaration. This was another TypeScript bolt-on. And in order to define custom commands for Cypress, we had to declare this global namespace Cypress and have an interface that we could build on top of. No longer is that needed at all. So let's get all of this checked in here. Actually stage all of this. Pull up our to-do item. What I want to see is, can I unstage part of it? And the answer is no. I probably could, but not really worth it. Okay, well, so we're going to unstage that. We'll do it as a separate commit. So we're going to say remove TypeScript preprocessor and moved back to JavaScript. We want to unstage those files. The reason we're not checking in our environment stuff is I've updated them just to point to my local host environment just for my testing pieces. Interesting that we've got screenshots that got a screenshot that got checked in. Okay, let's commit that. And let's say add delete to do Cypress test. I think I want to do with our to-do test before we call it a little bit completed for that, because I want to get rid of some of the describes. We don't really need the nested describes. So right now we have a delete one, we have a completed one, and we have an add one. And think through this because there's only one test in both the complete and the deleted. And right now we're not doing anything with a before command. My thinking is that we don't necessarily need the describes. The only reason we would need the describes is if we want to do different replay commands so that we have different files, those to mock out, then you can put them into a describe, but since it does a before and after. But we're going to leave it for now. Even though I was thinking about cleaning it up, let's just leave it for now. And let's see, where are we at with our test cases? We haven't done anything for our 404 page at all yet. We've done sign up, we've done log out, we've done login. So let's see what we can do for the create a new file, and we'll say 404. 404 error page. We'll say route works. Simplest test. The thing I want to do is take a look at our menu and see, did we actually navigate to any of these? I don't believe we actually did. And we did not. So what we can say here, let's do a, so we'll visit, see where unknown actually goes. Does it truly go to a route called unknown? It does. So if we visit the slash unknown, let's just make sure that one, that the location's there. Location, path name, that should equal slash unknown. We can just chain these together. Okay, made sure we're there. Now we want to look at some tests. Let's text. We can get that out. It looks like we have a paragraph on here. We haven't put any real text on our 404 page whatsoever. Let's pull up our unknown page. Obviously, I don't know where page is at. Oh, it's called not found. And let's just do an attribute called data-cy right, equals. We're just going to call it works for now. Just so we have. So to look up, I could look up the paragraph tag, but it feels really generic. Too generic to know that we got the right piece. So cy-get, and we've already got it pulling up stuff with an attribute. Let's just go snag it. Works, and that should not dash found works. Not dash found works. Let's save both of these pieces in here. We actually don't need this terminal any longer. Let's delete that one. Go back to terminal 1. Hit ng-serve. Back to terminal 2 and open up Cypress. Let's just make sure our ng-serve actually works. Now this is all spinning up. I'm going to take a quick hydration break here and we will be right back. And we are back. Excellent. We're going to pick right back up where we left off here. We got Cypress actually is launched. It's just waiting for us to run our tests. So let's get right back into this and run our 404 test here, and let's see what it actually does for us. And it looks like it couldn't actually find that paragraph tag. Let's make sure I spelled it all right. Data-cy, data-cy. So in theory, it should have found it. Let's make sure it actually got, it did data-cy, okay. Let's look at our selector here. Try not retrying expected paragraph to equal. That is because we needed the text for it. Text. Okay. Let's look at one of our other test cases here. We have .text anywhere. Assertions up. Look at our Cypress kitchen sink example here, and looks like we can invoke the text. Have .text. Let's try that. Should have .text. Should have text, not found works, but text was space not found. Should. Let's see. Look at our minimum validation. We solved this one the other day. So we want contain. This way we don't have to worry about does it have the exact spaces. Not the downside of contain is it truly is a contains statement. So there is potential that if this text gets added to, but that as long as that's still there, the test case will actually pass. But by saying have.text, what's ending up happening is if we go look at our HTML for this not found, because we have this space here is part of just the nice formatting. It is seeing that. So if I do this, then sometimes you actually go and hit format your HTML, and all of a sudden you get that nice breakpoint back in there. That breaks the test, makes them brittle. So I'm willing to live with a contains statement. Okay, so we got our 404 page working here. You can see we also didn't actually log in, and yet we could test that as well. But the reason I wouldn't actually test the are you logged in or not is you can get to this page even if you're logged in. So if I go here, you can see I'm logged in, but I can still go to this 404 page. So this behavior isn't something to test. We've already tested the name shows up. We've already tested the logout button works. Let's now go through and just run all of our tests in here. I believe we actually have a dot only in our code somewhere. Dot only. We do. And I'm sure I committed that piece. Luckily I didn't push that up. Just wait for this to run through this, and looks like our completed item actually He failed on us. And I see the reason that it failed. So one of the things we did for performance last time was we set it so that we're running a before to create an item for add and do. But what's ending up happening is the delete is getting rid of the item and we're not re-adding it back in. So let's look at how we can modify that behavior. Let's collapse all these down because we don't want to do a before each because we don't need to re-log in and recreate an item for every single screen. And that just slows us down, especially if we're doing like validation stuff. I don't need to run before this validation, create me something. Before this one, I'm not doing anything with that data. But what I could do is split out some stuff here. And split out CRUD operations. So I can say describe. So we'll just call it CRUDs for the group. Now if I
just want to go back.
Put this in there, we'll put completed as well. If I take this piece, now we can change this to add to do validation, form validation, all that set right. So now we can go and we can take all of these pieces and we can say before each. So before each of these tests, go and create me a to-do item in here. Is this what we want to do though? Is this what we want to do? Because I'm afraid this is actually going to break our test, but it might not because we're looking at dot first. Let's try it. Worst that can happen is they all fail. Wish all of the tests ran as quick as that menu check did. Okay, that click can only be done for a single item, so it found 3 items because we added 3 items into here. So that failed in completed and to do. Did it fail in the add? Delete, complete. Oh, add passed. Okay, so first row dot. Let's get rid of this because it's creating some issues before. And I'm sure with a little bit of time in the right jQuery selector, I could get this so that it's not so. So Harry here. It could be one selector. Probably something like this. But that'll be a refactor that we come up with in a bit. Actually, it didn't error necessarily on that. So we'll refactor that one. Okay, let's not over engineer this. So first row, that click. See what it actually found. So that's the before each. Okay. First row. First row. Interesting. It didn't respect the first row here. Let's just update that across the board. And get rid of first row. first row. Oh, cool. I'm a little surprised we didn't have first row in here anywhere. Delete. Completed. That would be what I thought happened. Let's do first row dot. So now we should see, let's say first row. Get rid of that item. Get rid of that. We'll scroll up because I thought there was one more. Nope. Do a little formatting. These are absolutely driving me nuts. Oh. I also just a line. So it should be dot first and add a dot at the end of that. Let's just save that and see where we're at. Line 79 has a token it doesn't like. Same thing with 92. 111. So stuff that got formatted nicely. Kind of got screwed in that deal. There we go. Let's see if our test runs this time. So as we're going through Cypress, if you have any questions on anything that we're doing today, feel free to ask in the chat. And right now we're just troubleshooting a couple tests that are failing. It's more around the tests that we've written and trying to get the one item that we actually need. Even if I remove it down so that there's only one item in here, works great every time. But I think what is happening is these two gets are getting different things. So I need to look at open selector playground here and figure out how I can actually get the actual row that I need. Let's update this to say dot row dash to do. That's obviously not what it was called, but look at our test case. Dot row dot to do. Dot row dot to do. I don't want the nth child. What I want is the first item. So if anyone in the chat remembers how to do jQuery for your selectors and pick off the first item, that would be awesome to let me know. Let's try 0. So jQuery get first child. Especially it pulls up some stuff, but it'd be nice to know to truly get the first item. We could say first. How does we do first here? There we go. Then let's throw this on there. Just to see if it finds the right one. It does. Okay. So we are going to do this. Actually, let's do a find and replace for this. There's a colon first and give it a space. Okay, dot first. Oh. Let's do a little undo here. Let's try this again. Colon first space. Now let's look for dot first. Colon first. And send in here. This is all part of the learning process to figure out how this stuff works best. Left side, time at line 88. It's getting there. Come on, delete. Well, not quite. But at least it's around selectors, and this is our... Let's just play with the complete test first. Let's get one of them then fixed up. For each, we'll say dot only. You know what? We are going to actually get rid of the describe part of this because we don't need it. Don't need to split our test off to their own describes. So dot only. So this one, what did it fail on again? It failed trying to find the element for dot. So check icon, check square. I see what happened, because we had more than one item in here. It wasn't able to detect what that item actually was, or the item actually moved, because it sorts completed and then uncompleted, or sorry, other way, sorts not completed then completed. So we'll have to figure out, how do we get the last row actually in here? or we can just stop creating multiple delete items because that is overcomplicating our test. So let's take a quick think about this. One of the things we could do each time, because we're already logged, is we could what to do this. And then we can go down in here. Hey, Adrian, so far the coding is actually going fairly well. Just trying to figure out took us a while actually to figure out how do you intercept the Windows confirm, because one of the things that happens in the UI is when we have items. Let me add one in here. And we click the delete button, and it pops up this confirm. My initial take with Cypress with TypeScript, it miserably failed with all kinds of TypeScript related errors, and there's some unfortunate, or fortunately there's an issue that's got closed, but it's still in their development branch to fix that. And I kept encountering issue after issue, it felt like, as I went further into the Cypress realm with TypeScript. So I backed all the TypeScript stuff back out and just went full JavaScript. And everything now is working fantastic. And now we're just troubleshooting through. Now we added a delete test. Some of our other tests failed because it didn't have data. Because I was really cheesy for this demo, basically. It was just really an example of how do I hook something up just to confirm that deleted item's there. Because when they go through the workshop to create this application, initially the delete button instantly deletes. And so it's a bonus lab just to say, hey, you should put some kind of a confirmation box. I figured at that point in time, it's like 4:30 in the afternoon. Last thing they want to do is figure out some bootstrap modal or something else. But yes, I almost never use these in my thing, but I've tried to be a little prescriptive in my, or not be super prescriptive in my workshops and say, hey, you got to use bootstrap or you got to use material. Because everybody's shops, unfortunately, is a little different. So let me save this test and let's see if this thing actually works this time. That would be a big no, but I'm also noticing my URL is a little wonky. Let's relaunch these tests. Why is Cypress not coming up with my... I think I know why. I think it's because when I move stuff out of this before that's up top here, where did it... Oh, I got rid of the before. There's no visit in here. So I actually need to visit the home page. Whoopsie! Actually, I need to visit the login page because we got to log in first. There we go. So it works with one item. Let's take off the dot only. Let's see if it works with all three of the tests that are in here. Hey, there we go. That's what we wanted to see. So that was the refactor that we were trying to do on Monday that brain wasn't comprehending. Is we don't want to visit the login page and have to log in for tests like validation, where all we're doing is testing, did this validation come up with minimum? If I get rid of everything, does it say it's required? There's no need to actually, once you're logged in, there's no need to go back through the login process, where when we actually create to-do items, we want to go back through that process because it resets this whole form for us. So now that's exactly what it is doing for us. So now for the to-do item, first thing it does is visits the login page, it resets everything back. Because we're mocking out all of our API calls, so it's not really saving any of this data. So the minute we go back to the page, I probably could have reloaded the homepage too. Good. Actually, let's give that a try now that we're actually walking through that to see. Let's do a before. So if I do before, it'll run this once. And I need to actually split that right here. Because I still need a before each because I need to be able to create an item. There you go. And I wonder if there's a reload page. Oh, there is a reload. We're going to find out what it does. I've never used it. I really wish we had a nice UI for karma-based test where I could just check the test versus having to put .only in the code. Because one of two things always happens. I either check in the .only or I forget to put it on and then I get to run all the test cases like we're doing right now. Site.type can only be called on a single element. Reloaded. Wasn't expecting to be at the home page. Look here and see if there's anything in our Cypress, like basically the kitchen sink of their documentation here. Side window, querying traversal actions. Submit, click, double click, check, uncheck, selected, scroll into view. Might actually have to do a quick search here. Should have reloaded. I wonder if what is happening is because we're mocking stuff out when we reload, that it's reloading the whole site, and so it's losing our cookie. So instead of reload, let's see if a .visit. See if a visit to the home page will actually fix that. But I have a feeling we'll have the same issue. This is one of the problems when you're doing cookie-based authentication. Ultimately, is that when it doesn't see the cookie, it doesn't actually log you in. Interesting, it didn't run the add test. So visit there. Okay. So that was a little bit of a dud. Let's move this back up here. For each, get rid of that, get rid of that. So Adrian, did you end up ever going back and streaming again last night? I know you were talking about it after dinner, but yeah, same mistake again. Took out the visit the home page and the before each. Good thing these tests run quickly. Eating is a good thing.
Got a little Swedish there.
I wish I would have done that. I was at Starbucks until like 8 o'clock working, and then I went home and packed because there's the AZ gift camp that I'm going to literally right after I'm done streaming. I'm heading into downtown Phoenix and going to help set up for that. And there's nothing like trying to think of everything I need for the next 2.5 days. But basically, it's a chair to sleep in, Thankfully, I've got one of those nice, like, reclining, like, lounge chairs, kind of free-floating thing that's super comfortable to sleep in, and all of that stuff. And I'm feeling a little sleep deprived too. This whole week has been leave the house super early, like I'm leaving somewhere in the 8:30, 9 o'clock range, which is normally fairly early for me. My daughter has the flu, and I'm trying to stay as far away from her as I can so that I don't get the flu. And thankfully, she's 14, so she's no problem staying away from each other and just chatting on the phone. But she's had the flu since last Friday, and last thing I want to do is catch that. And I'm leaving at 8, 9 in the morning after I normally get up at like 5:36 anyway. I leave before she gets up, coming back at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I've been doing that all week long. So my 6 hours of sleep that I am getting is definitely catching up to me. So sweet, it looks like all of our tests are actually passing it at this point, and I feel pretty confident about where we are at with our actual test cases. We've got the whole application within. I probably spent a total, including explaining it on stream and doing some searches, about 3 hours to wire up all of these pieces. 6 hours of sleep is awesome. Yes, 6 hours is kind of the sweet spot a little bit, but after a week, I need at least one day where I get a little bit more than that. I try to not go under 6. If I get 4, I manage about 3 days, and then I'm just cranky, and I just crash at the end of the day. And it was funny the other day that I definitely got a little under 6, and first thing I hit was a database migration issue of all things with NED framework. I went to go create a new one, and all of it was broken again. I was like, why did it break once more? And that's how I started my day, and it was just one thing after the other. Then some third-party system we depend on went down, and then that unfortunately impacted our integration test that we had running, which happened to also be broken because they weren't part of our Team City builds. And so it was like this perfect storm of migrations broke, Team City builds didn't have our integration test. I went to go run them, and somebody had added a new parameter and forgot to check or add the parameter of the test. And then I added the parameter once I tracked down the guy that made all the changes and go, hey, what parameter am I supposed to put in here? And then the third-party system went down, so even though I added it back into Team City to tell it to run it, we still had 4 test cases for the better part of a day that kept failing all of our builds. So I was a little cranky that day. There's just one thing after the other. And then one of my pull requests I threw in to go with it broke a whole bunch of unit tests because they were, for whatever reason, when they designed the database initially, their proof of concept had this thing where we have a bunch of project data that's in various tables and relates back, like project and project members. For whatever reason, about half of those project tables, you could have the project ID be nullable in them, which never actually happens. Like, you relate the data, there's foreign keys. So I went to go fix that and then broke some unit tests because they were doing stuff wrong in how they were doing data. So, yeah, it was that perfect storm of that the other day. And it's like, can I just get my work done? I only had like 30 minutes of actual work, and I spent like 12 hours in just roadblock after roadblock. So yeah, you have those days. So let's get this code actually checked in here and make sure I don't check our environment in. So we added in a UI 404 test. We added in, actually we updated this text as well. We'll append that to the last commit. And gave me the option for some different staging of hunks here. Let's see if there's anything. We're just going to stage the whole file. Stage breakout CRUD into onDescribe. And log in for each CRUD. And let's actually push this up. So now comes the fun part of the Cypress piece. is actually creating the presentation to go with this. So one of the reasons I was adding all of these test cases in is I have several conferences coming up where I'm talking about Cypress, and I needed to actually have some demos that I could show. Needed to play around a bit with how does Cypress truly work, since this is a brand new talk that I'm giving. And I'm glad I played around with it, because the stuff I had played around before, or even before I submitted the talk to conferences, I had played around a little bit with Cypress and installed it on a couple applications that work and just got some base proof of concept stuff in. But as I really started to dig more into this application, realized the TypeScript stuff wasn't as solid as I was hoping it would be. And the only reason I even went the TypeScript route is because I'm doing Angular apps. So I figured if I'm doing Angular, it's already in TypeScript. My test should also be in TypeScript. All that didn't work as well, so we backed it back down today to JavaScript test cases. I also got to play a little bit more with and learn that the .gets, even though they chain together, they don't chain off of each other. So at one point we said, go and get me all of the to-do rows, and then we said .get, go find an item within them. Well, instead of finding the item within that row that came back, it looked at the whole UI and said, oh, you have 3 rows, here's all 3 of the icons. And so we had to fix our jQuery selectors, and got to learn that piece today with it. Got to figure out what happens when you don't visit. So a couple times we forgot to put the cy.visit at the top of a test. And what ended up happening is we just got a blank screen in Cypress. So all these things together are going to go into an actual presentation. Let me give you a little sneak preview of where the presentation's kind of going to go in a little bit. So this one's a little bit different than my normal presentations. It's a testing topic, and unfortunately testing is a little bit boring to talk about typically. We all know we kind of need it. I saw a great quote this morning where someone said testing is like vegetables. We always know it's good for somebody else. So I'm trying to make it exciting. Start off with a little bit of a kind of a countdown. We'll have some curtains open up here. Let's see if I can get PowerPoint to play nicely with this zoom and actually scroll. There we go. But then we're going to open it up with a story. I have a wonderful artist friend that drew me 4 personas. So we're going to talk about the typical conversation that goes on with testers, developers, product owners, and clients. Because here's normally how testing kind of happens. Client gets really annoyed. Hey, you're taking too long to deliver. You got too many bugs. They're losing money. And we're always like, oh no, we're so sorry. You try to placate a little bit. Tell them, hey, we'll get this fixed up for you. And then it's hey, we've got some kind of crazy problem going on. As a product owner or manager comes and talks to QA and developers, and it just kind of keeps going through this conversation of why is the client angry? Why do we have QA and they're not grabbing our stuff? Why are we taking so long? So I'm going to start off with that story, and it shouldn't take more than a few minutes to go through the story. There is definitely, as you see, a lot of slides to it. A lot of that's around just the animations for it. So as somebody talks, what the bubble will do is it will fade in. Actually, it'll kind of do the wipe. So it starts and makes the circle for you, and then the text will fade in, and then it'll fade out when they're done talking. So it's kind of like an actual little comic strip without being a comic strip. And then we'll just go through, like, why do we need Cypress? Let's see if I can get down. So we'll cover why do we need Cypress? Why is Cypress totally different? How do we make our test not be flake resistant? So we saw a little bit of that on stream today. We had a couple places where we had some flakiness. Just the minute that we added, said, you know what, I don't want to for performance. Let's just stay on the home page and let's just add more to-do items. Well, once we got more than one on there, then the complete test didn't pass anymore, because the way we have our ordering is it's uncompleted first, incompleted last. So it moved the item that we were playing with somewhere else. That makes that kind of a flaky test, because now I got to go attempt to find that. Or I just have one item there, because I only needed one item for those specific tests. We will definitely on Monday write some more tests for what happens when we have multiple items and try to figure that problem out. So if I have 2 items or more and I click on, say, the middle one, does it go to the bottom and the other 2 are left alone, just to make sure that we're not accidentally closing all of the items. So we'll talk a bit in a presentation about flake resistant. We'll talk about how do you do some debugging. And yes, there is a lot of text on some of these slides. And no, this is not a final revision. This is literally me going through and just brainstorming a bunch of items based off of articles that I would have read, documentation I've read, videos I've watched, my own experiences. So I just threw the notes in there, and it'll come back through and actually solidify these, get it down so that it's not tons of words, because nobody wants to read that many words. I don't want to read that many words when I'm on stage, because then I feel obligated to read the slide, and that's just horrible. Then we'll cover how do you actually get started with Cypress. So in here, we'll cover a couple gotchas. And while we're in here, let's actually add in the TypeScript isn't as baked as a placeholder for us to actually do something. Let's fix our layout, because that is not the layout. This is a code layout. We are definitely not going to have code on this slide. For now, we're going to leave it as a bulleted slide, so we'll get a bunch of bullets on it, and we'll figure out what to do with it once we actually get the data in there. One place that we haven't covered, and I won't actually cover on stream because I'm not behind a proxy server, is if you're in a corporate environment, how do you actually get your proxy server to work? But we will cover that in the presentation, and you'll see that when I stream a bit of the presentation in here. And funny enough, we were going to talk about using TypeScript. That slide's going away. Okay. And then we're going to have a bunch of demo code. I don't know why my demo slide disappeared on me. So let's go through. Where'd the demo go? There we go. And I'm not sure I'll get this far in the presentation without doing a demo. I'll probably actually open up with a demo right after we get done with the whole story at the beginning with the different personas, just to show the test that we wrote. We'll show how quickly we can test all of that stuff. And I think it's a great example that we have, what, right now, 22 test cases right now. By the time we're done, we'll probably get up into the 25 to 30 range for test cases. So that will be a great thing. And I realized it as well just now. I've been on the camera the whole time, and I'm showing you a PowerPoint. Let me go back and show you the PowerPoint that we actually were, or I was showing that you didn't get to see. Silly me. No one in the chat was keeping me honest there. So, was showing off some personas. So the artist that I had draw this, good friend of mine, I drew 4 personas. So the tester, the QA, product owner, and happy client for now. But you can see client's not so happy. We'll run through this story of why they're not happy. The product owner talking to QA and developers of why we got so many bugs, why are we taking so long. QA throwing the blame at developers that we're shorthanded, they need to do more testing. Developers throwing it back that we're shorthanded and doing the best we can. And this whole story is a typical story that I hear at multiple companies, multiple teams. I've experienced it even myself with my own QA teams as we've had these same conversations with our customers that we're taking too long and we need to automate more stuff and we're resource constrained and they're not catching stuff and we're not catching stuff, and it's kind of that whole crazy story that goes on. And so look, how about all of that? And if I get far enough down here, then we'll start talking about, hey, where is Cypress? So that's good. So we'll mention we need to write, where to go? back up far enough. So that one point, the last developers, or the product owner asked the developers, what can we do to go faster with less bugs? Or can we go faster? The answer is always yes. Developers always feel we can. But there's some catches. Typically, teams are doing too much, making it too hard to catch the bugs. They do these gigantic releases. I've been on teams. My team has done those giant releases. And it's always horrible. You always miss stuff. Every time that we've had rock solid releases, it's a minimal amount of changes with lots of testing. And the funny part when you do that is you normally deliver the same exact functionality on the same schedule, if not even a little bit faster than when you do the big releases. And the big difference is at the end when we're done, the big release has all kinds of bugs and you have a follow-on release to fix them. When you do the small releases that you can test, you don't normally have that follow-on release. You're done. You've already done all the tests. You've already got the rock solid release and you've hit your schedule and hit it on time. So we'll talk about a bunch of that stuff and then we'll cover all of the, like I mentioned, the why is Cypress better, or what makes Cypress different, how to make flash resistant, debugging. We talk about the getting started. We'll go through the coding demos. So may do some actual live demos and show the code, may write some tests. I haven't got quite that far in presentation. Because it's an intro to Cypress, I'm not totally sure how much test I will actually write live, but what I love to do is actually put code into my slides and run through them and go line by line. So I'll show you a quick example because I love showing this stuff off in slides. We'll snag, actually I want the black slide. Where did that one go? There we go, code. And let me snag a test case. Snag a small one. We want it to fit on the slide. Let's snag that one here. So one of the really cool things that with PowerPoint, when you paste in slides from VS Code, it gives you this little box. You say keep source formatting. Now I get my syntax highlighted. I hit the back to the top shortcut, so now I get to go find that slide. Thankfully it was near the end. So now that my slide and my font's a little small, bump it up to 28. The point, what I will do when I finalize this slide, I'll make a few copies of it, and we will here, and we're gonna gray out. Let's gray out that slide. We'll do a few of these. You'll see where this is going here in a moment. And we'll take off the transitions because we don't want it to fade or anything. So we're going to see how this looks on stream. You'll not see the right side of this screen because I'm not sharing the whole screen. But what you do is like show the whole thing, and then it'll gray itself out. And I need a little bit darker gray. That's not the normal gray I use. And now I can walk through and say, first thing we're going to do is get our form control. Then we want to type a character in. And we want to get the alert that's going to show up on the screen. Hoping I missed a item there. So there you go. So off to get. And not put them in the right order. So full, first line, second line, third line. Grade. There we go. So now it makes it look like I'm doing a little bit of an animation as I walk through it. And now I can actually walk through the code on a slide versus if I throw this whole thing up, you're trying to figure out what the heck the code actually does. So when I walk through code in slides, that's exactly how I do it. But because there's no animation to truly gray these out. And I've tried doing images, I've tried doing, let's put a box around it. Doing a box around each one of these This really sucks for maintenance. I had to literally go in here and say, hey, let me actually draw a box. First thing you got to do, actually, you got to put the box on there. It's like, okay, let me draw my box. Let me go in and format it. So we want the fill to not be filled, but we want the line to be solid. And let's make it red. And bump up the points on it so you can see it a bit. So to do that and throw it on every one of the lines and then go in here and say, I want you to appear, sounds amazing and sounds like, oh yeah, it's easier to maintain until you go to change the code. And you realize you can delete all the boxes and re-put all the boxes and re-put all the animations in there. Or you get to move them out of the way and try to put them. So much easier just to do multiple slides, because if I have to update the slides, literally I go in here and I say, delete all of those slides. Let's go grab a different bit of code. Say I want this code. Now I go throw this code in and tell it to keep my theme. Do a little format since it lost all of my formatting. And now I just copy the slide a bunch of times. And we'll go highlight, turn off the transitions. And now I just go through and gray them back out. So it goes line by line. In a matter of like 2-3 minutes, all of my code and all of my animations are done. Versus the other way, I've tried the other way before. It'd be 2 or 3 hours of playing with the animations and trying to get everything back in order every time you change code. And I guarantee if you do your presentation more than once, you're going to learn something new. You're going to change your code around. You're going to bump up the fonts, or you're going to change your fonts, or you're going to change the theme of your PowerPoint. I've changed the theme of my PowerPoint probably 4 times since I initially did my first testing talk that had code in it. Because I've created a company, I've got branding for it, I've got certain fonts for it, I found certain layouts that work better than others. I put stuff in here like, let me give you a title. And then for stuff that actually has a GitHub repo behind it, I love to give them the file name so that when they go back and look at the slides, they know where can they actually go find this bit of code. And I'll put in the full path, so Cypress /integration /to-do.js. So this way they know at the end, I'm going to tell them exactly where all of this code actually is. So we will see over the next week or so-ish. And that's awesome that my font can't be saved with my presentation. There must be a licensing restriction or something on that, because it has it right there. One of the things I tried to do with my code or my fonts is to save them inside the PowerPoint. So if I go from machine to machine, or I give it to somebody, at least it has the right fonts in it. But that one is not right. But as well, that is normally not the font that I believe. Let's see what font we're actually using for this. Interesting that chose not to show. Roboto Mono. There we go. So the reason that my code didn't copy is because I was going through and not paying attention and putting Roboto Mono in here and see if that actually will change my code on the slide to the right thing. There we go. That's the font that I use on my slides. And normally at 24 points as well. And I'm noticing this new slide template, the text is a little close together. So, there we go. Look at line spacing. Except to 0.6. Nope, that was not the setting. That was the indentation. This is the setting. So 6-point font. There we go. Spread it out a little. It had no font or no space between it. Let's update the template while I'm in here. That was it. 6-point. Do that for all of these code slides. This is the downside of having multiple code slides, and really the difference between them is the icon. Because I do a bunch of stuff in the Angular space, normally when it's an Angular presentation, I will color code these icons to be various things like components, services, pipes. That way people have a little bit of a visual of what type of code I'm currently playing with. And through the whole presentation, everything that's related to that part functionality, like services would be, if I did services as purple, all these services slides would have the purple icons. If there's any kind of fills for it, it would be a little bit of purple, or I'll put the icon sometimes on the individual slides so that you have those visual cues. So let's reset the slide. One of the things I wish would happen when you reset is that it wouldn't change your colors, but it does. And so let's just copy it back in. Let's make sure it looks good. So, I took the fire code. Didn't it? Nope. That's because of these ones. Or the Fiora code is the normal font that I use. Let's put it in here. Perfect. So you'll see a whole slew. We'll spend some time on the next couple of streams actually finalizing a little bit of this presentation actually. So you'll get a sneak preview of what's going to come up and with it, and you can actually help me design the presentation. If there's certain things that you would really love to learn about Cypress, definitely let me know. And with that, it is noon here, and as much as I want to continue streaming, I have got to go help set up for the Arizona Gift Camp Hackathon tonight. We've got 40 people or so-ish coming to volunteer their coding for the weekend, and we've got 7 nonprofits that we are going to help out with various things. Some of them want intake forms, some of them need full-blown applications, some of them need design work. But we're going to start today. Basically, we'll set up. The Gift Camp starts at 4 in the afternoon in downtown Phoenix. We'll meet all the nonprofits, we'll form some teams, and we're going to start coding until middle of the afternoon on Sunday, and then we'll do a wrap-up. And hopefully, if I can get on the internet and get fast enough internet at the facility, I can stream the wrap-up meeting where all the teams will do a little presentation about what did they actually create for the nonprofits, the tech stacks that they used, any issues that they ran into. So hopefully Sunday afternoon, I will actually get to stream that. If the internet's not good enough, I'm still going to record it, but it'll end up on YouTube instead of being streamed. But with that, thank you for watching. We will be back again on Monday morning, and the schedule is right down below me in the panels. It's every Monday, 9 a.m. Arizona time, which is now going to become 9 a.m. Pacific time as well, since the time changes this weekend. And then we're doing the same time on Fridays. So thank you again, and I will catch you next week.